Hello everyone, welcome to the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps for round 7 of the Ferrari Challenge Trophy of Pirelli and Pirelli Am. We are here with the mixer Pirelli and Pirelli Am drivers then for their first race of the weekend here at Spa-Francorchamps. This iconic circuit that winds its way through the Ardennes region of Belgium. An awesome circuit to be at, an awesome circuit for the drivers to experience and enjoy. Let's give you our formal welcome to Spa. The place is revered, not only here in Europe, but also around the world, and it has formed part of our 2025 calendar, which, as you can see, has included Monza, Misano, Hockenheim, Brno, Valencia and Barcelona. And now here we are at Spa-Francorchamps with just one trip to do, and that is the Finale Mondiale event to be held in Mugello between the 21st and the 26th of October. So we're reaching the critical phase, if you will, of the Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli Am Championships. The weather that's greeted us here in Spa is very un-Spa-like, if I can be so bold, with a track temperature of 31 degrees, air temperature of 23. Today was supposed to be really rather overcast with no sunshine. That has not really been the case. It's been pretty nice, to be honest with you. There's a bit of wind around. It could be altogether different tomorrow, where there could be a little bit of rain around. Now, in the championship, it's Felix Herziger leading from Jasin Ferati. In Trofeo Pirelli Am, it is Hendrik Viol leading from Michael Verhagen in terms of the championship. Here is Gilles Renman, the local driver for Francorchamps Motors Brussels, and here is our pole sitter then, Felix Herziger. Felix doing a good job for Ineco Reporto Corsa Ram. He set a lap time of 2:16.385, and that has taken him to P1 on the grid, which not only gives him the best starting position, arguably, pole position, but it also gives him an additional point to his points tally also. Going into the final 2 races in Mugello, but 2 to be done here in Spa-Francorchamps. So what happened last time out when we were in Spain at Barcelona? Let's remind ourselves. It was blisteringly hot. And as the cars were released, Felix Herziger and Jasin Ferati were absolutely side by side going into turn 1. David Gosner had a brilliant start in the AMs, and 1 or 2 drivers shortcutting the first sequence of turns. And well, race control would take a very good look at that, and well, some good avoidance there from Hendrik Viol, who could have oh so easily been caught up in that. And 1 or 2 drivers were being caught out, that's for sure, as some were turned around and others weren't. Hendrik Viol managing. So that's what Barcelona was like, and there's newly married Manuela Gosner. Many congratulations from us here in our broadcast booth, and there is her brother David Gosner, who was the quickest of the Pirelli Am drivers. He is going from pole position for our Pirelli Am drivers. Well done, David Gosner. His sister Corinna there alongside the car as well, of course, as Manuela, who's also wishing David well in the race. Driving for the MP Racing organization, Massimo Peppi. Here's Jasin Ferati, who drives for Emil Frey Racing. Now, Jasin didn't qualify quite as well as he would have liked. He's having a second row start, going from P3. His best time was a 2:18.097, but Jasin will be hoping to usurp those that are ahead of him. So we'll see if he is able to do that in just moments from now. The race will be getting underway. The grid is very packed here at Spa-Francorchamps ahead of the race. So we've had a phenomenal season in 2025. 2026, well, that's going to be very exciting as well.
Not by chance, but by calling. We chase each other at the edge of control, battling to crown the one and only champion. Rivals in speed, brothers in spirit. A new season approaches, and there's an inkling of the excitement to come. By the seaside, over the rolling Apennines to the foot of the Alps, we will race along roads driven for 100 years, reach the ocean, and behold the city divided by a vast blue river. This is the path set before us. Every turn, every straight will carry us through this journey. Ferrari Challenge, Trofeo Pirelli Europe, season 2026.
It is a truly awesome calendar for 2026. Alongside me is Nico Spalek, and it was released and revealed last night, and to wide aplomb, it has to be said. What a calendar.
Absolutely. What a calendar. Already busy booking hotels and travel and everything. Can't wait. I mean, 2025, an amazing calendar with so many different circuits, different layouts, different characteristics. And 2026 is going to be exactly the same. Looking forward to Hungary after all the renovation, going back there. Budapest, certainly great. And I mean, kicking off the season in Le Castellet together with the UK series, actually.
Yes.
There's also going to be a great one. So we will find out where the World Finals 2026 will be when we get to the World Finals in a month and a half's time. So, or just over a month, actually. So that's the one thing that's still missing from the calendar.
Yes. It's tempting and teasing. Yeah, it's something that Ferrari do very well. Yes, at the Finale Mondiale event, we will be releasing where the venue for Finale Mondiale 2026 will be. So big thumbs up there as we are about to go racing. This is Angelo Fontana, who did a brilliant job in qualifying. Angelo's best qualifying to date, I believe, in Pirelli Am, going from P3. Right, let's find out a little bit more about this extraordinary circuit then of the circuits de Spa-Francorchamps.
Hi everyone, my name is Gilles Renmans, 24 years old from Belgium. This week we are in Spa-Francorchamps for the Ferrari Challenge Europe. This is my coach Matteo Davenia.
Hi.
And he's going to help me get through the week.
Dai, let's gonna see your home track.
Yeah. First corner.
Here we really must be really careful because, you know, everybody will try to attack, especially if we start. Here, in my point of view, we must keep the right side, so we have to understand the proper braking point. Exactly. Because then we have a very, very long straight, so we must try to arrive at the Eau Rouge.
Looks less scary like this.
Yeah.
Like less steep. If you take the shit line, you take the track limits for sure.
Yeah, that's the reason why I always suggest you to keep as much as possible the left side and to start turning a little bit early. So go on the curbs immediately. When the curb finish, this is the proper point where we have to turn.
Yeah.
As much as you cut, and as much will be easier to do the right side, okay? So we really have to cut completely the curbs.
So here, what do you suggest? Like the late apex or more force a little bit the entry, take the V-line?
Exactly, V-line. This is a good reference, the green one. It's like the first apex.
The green and then the third green.
Exactly, the third, is the second apex, where we have to call back the car on the right side. And this corner is so important. It's really nice to overtake. Here, we have to sacrifice the right part in order to keep the car on the right side, turn as much as possible the car, and then we can cut better the left side and go on throttle.
Really follow the
exactly.
curve, like follow the corner. Not really like perfect. A chicane, it's more like two corners.
It's like two corners.
I think if you keep this line, you're preparing well the
left side, yeah, exactly. So, let's go for all.
Total domination?
Total,
Nee.
as always.
Thank you, Gilles. Thank you, Matteo, giving us their perspective on the circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. We're already away with our formation lap for Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli Am. We'll bring you the grid in full. Now, bear in mind, our Pirelli Am drivers drive with a white strip across the top of the windscrene. Armin Arapour and Otto Blank are two of those drivers. James Owen and Rafael Duran, they go from P20 and P19. Danilo Del Favero qualified P18, Hanno Laskowski P17. Henri Acid, he's a Pirelli driver, red strip across his windscreen top, and Herbert Geis alongside him. Then it's Max Mugelli and Jacob Bidstrup. They're on the 7th row of the grid, and on the 6th row of the grid, it's Anders Bidstrup and Dylan Medler, a race winner just last weekend in Laguna Seca. Michael Verhagen and Marco Sanassi, they are on the 5th row of the grid. Andrew Morrow and Angelo Fontana, they go from row 4. Hendrik Viol, championship leader in Pirelli Am, goes from P6. Björn Grossman alongside him. It's David Gosner going from P4 and Jasin Ferati from P3, with Gilles Renmans and Felix Herziger on the front row of the grid for our Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli Am race. So bear in mind the combination of the drivers, Pirelli drivers and Pirelli Am drivers. Let's hear from our pole sitter now.
Here in Spa, for us, we had P1 in the first qualifying session, and we nearly put the lap perfectly together. There's still some improvements to be made, and I'm very thankful to my team, Ram, and my sponsor, Neupack, for all the opportunities, and can't wait for the races.
Thanks, Felix. I have to say, he's done a good job in qualifying. I remind you, Pirelli drivers, Pirelli Am drivers side by side, and it's a big grid of cars, some 22 of them. Felix Herziger, he's got this ability, Nico, once he's got his nose in front, to stay in front. Will he be able to do that here? Being chased down by the likes of Gilles, who will want to show well on his home circuit.
Yeah, Gilles, obviously, also Jasin Ferati, who will line up right behind Felix Herziger. It's been a little bit of a sequence of different seasons almost. For some part, Felix Herziger was the quicker, then Jasin Ferati took over the reins, and now it's back to Felix Herziger. But will the pendulum stay that way, or will it swing back? We'll find out. 30
minutes plus 1 lap, and the other one to mention in there, the returning Björn Grossman. Never discount Björn Grossman, a very, very talented car. So, there you can see the cars lining up side by side. It's always a rolling start in the Ferrari Challenge, a side-by-side grid formation. The Richard Mills safety car will peel off. It will then become the responsibility of Felix Herziger and Gilles Renmans to control the pace of the rolling start for this 30-minute plus 1 lap race for Ferrari Challenge, Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli Am. I remind you, Pirelli drivers and Pirelli Am drivers are scored separately. Pirelli drivers with the red strip across the top of the windscreen, the Am drivers with the white strip across the top of the windscreen. Hold on to everything. We are about to go racing. Lighting gantry to the top of the screen for you. And turn 1, La Source, approaches very, very quickly. Well, 1 or 2 cars being held. I don't know. That start was really rather shabby. So we're going with an extra formation lap. The cars did not get up to racing speed as they crossed the line. Now, Nico, the reason for that, in my opinion, is 1 or 2 drivers were out of shape.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the rule is you have to run through your grid box with at least 50% of your car, so you can have effectively the middle line in the middle of the car has to be in the grid box. But we've had those in the past as well, and the start was allowed to go. I think there was maybe something where race control felt it was unsafe to release the cars and therefore rather do an extra formation lap.
Right.
Certainly the right call. The time has not started, so we will get the full contingent of 30 minutes plus 1 lap. But it's going to be an extra formation lap. It will be without the safety car, though.
Yes, because that safety car had already pulled off, and therefore the cars will line up side-by-side grid formation once again. But you'll be relying, or we will be relying on Felix and Gilles to put the cars side-by-side, and then for everyone else to put themselves into that grid formation side-by-side before we go for a start all over again. Cars running through turn 9 as we speak right now, making their way back, so through Rivage and heading towards Pouon, running downhill, of course. So now, interestingly, we are now seeing that the clock has started and that the race has started because the clock is counting down. So race control deeming that the race has started, but we have got an extra formation lap. So, Nico, I am assuming, and I know you're champing through the regulations as we speak, that the cars will go side by side once again.
Absolutely. To quote the rule book, technical regulations, in case of a false start, the red lights will remain on and the start procedure will start again with a formation lap that will follow the same rules as above. As the pace car will no longer be on the track, the driver in pole position will be responsible for the speed, which must comply with the regulations governing speed in the presence of a safety car.
Thank you, Nico. We're being told that there might have been an issue with the lighting gantry. And that's the reason. So rather than any misbehavior by our fine Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli and Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers, it's maybe more a glitch with the lighting gantry. So exactly as you said, having read from the sporting regulations, the cars are lining up side by side now. You can see Gilles' driver coach in there taking a look at his laptop, Matteo. And here we go then. It's although the race duration has started, the race kind of hasn't started, and it's going to start now, one hopes.
Absolutely.
I wonder whether we're going to be relying on the lighting gantry or man with flag. Let's see as the cars will run through the bus stop chicane, and we'll get some idea. And there's Thomas Gostner looking on. David Gostner, of course. His son is pole position for the Pirelli AM drivers. Round the bus stop chicane, the cars go then. And heading up towards the lighting gantry. Now, the red lights are illuminated, and when they're disilluminated or go out, that's when the race should start. And they have gone out this time. Great start from Hendrik Viol, who got the jump on one car, certainly going into turn number 1. We're into La Source now, which is a funnel. Fingers crossed everyone gets through there all okay. So yes, Hendrik Viol got ahead of David Gostner. David Gostner hung out to dry a bit. Andrew Morrow, I also think, getting by also as they head to Eau Rouge for the first time of asking. This is Ferrari Challenge. Jasin Ferati shortcutting a little bit the exit. Now he'll try and get the benefit of the draft off the back of the Felix Herziger car to try and have a go going into the chicane for the first time of asking. Felix Herziger, you could see, absolutely blocked off that inside line. Jasin Ferati trying to go around the outside, and I think he might have done this. Jasin Ferati with an overtake for the lead, and here comes Björn Grossman coming through as well. So it's all changed right at the front with Jasin Ferati, Björn Grossman all over the back of Jasin Ferati in the early stages of this race. And fighting back too is the car of Felix Herziger. So P1 at the moment, Jasin Ferati. P2 is Björn Grossman. And then P3 is Felix Herziger. Hendrik Viol is leading in the AMS. I have to say, some opportunistic driving from Jasin Ferati, of which Björn Grossman was able to take advantage as well.
Absolutely, and you said it correctly, Jasin Ferati shortcut the chicane, and that gave him extra momentum on the camel straight. Gilles Renman, one of the drivers who was absolutely mucked at the start, went from the front row all the way down into P5 overall. Great and respectful driving, however, everybody making it past the source and through Eau Rouge.
You're absolutely right, and that's critical to mention that. So great driving from everyone. Jasin Ferati. Now, let's take a look at a replay here. So Felix Herziger, you could see he just hadn't quite got the temperature in the tyres. Now, Jasin Ferati, I mean, he is braking there. I just wonder whether, and there you can see his driver coach, Giacomo Altoe, looking at that. I mean, he was really, really brave and bold, and he was determined. And he had the confidence in the grip available, and he went through. And I have to be honest with you, Björn Grossman was just able to take advantage of that also.
100%, and I think Felix Herziger wasn't quite expecting the late lunge there, and then
maybe
the car wasn't just settled, and that allowed Björn Grossman to get through, and you can see how the top three have broken away. But behind Hendrik Viol, there is a battle, and that might come into La Source. Just following the leaders there, but there are a few cars side by side.
So Grossman, there's Felix Herziger. They are P2 and P3. Hendrik Viol leading in the AMs, and you can see Hendrik Viol is kind of out on his own, and then a big battle going on behind. And I was mentioning that Andrew Morrow has moved up into that P2 place, driving really well, and now Andrew is actually going for the lead in the AMs. They're 3 abreast, and they're going through is Jasin Ferati, then Björn Grossman. And just behind them, Hendrik Viol. And now you can see that David Gosner is ahead of Andrew Morrow, but Andrew Morrow is pushing really, really hard. In that mix also is Gilles Renman that you mentioned, getting mugged right at the start. In fact, he's dropped back below and behind 3 AM drivers now. David Gosner and Andrew Morrow, they are fighting over this P2 position for the AM drivers. Then it is Angelo Fontana. I made mention of the fact it was his best qualifying, and he put himself into a really, really good position. So lots going on in this race, and Jasin Ferati, as you can see here, leading, but these 3 are staying together like they have been glued together, and they're breaking away from the rest of the pack. Here is the race start then. Let's see, as they headed towards turn number 1, Hendrik Viol dived to the inside, to the middle rather, and Jasin Ferati, Felix Herziger got the inside line, but then a little bit more momentum. It was a really good start from Björn Grossman, Nico, to put himself into P3. He got by a couple of cars, and very luckily Hendrik Viol avoiding the wall right on the inside. Then to just stay on board with Hendrik Viol here just for a moment, because he got really, really squeezed, and half wondered whether he was going to make contact with a concrete wall on the inside here. So if you look at, we cut away from that just as he was going to get towards the concrete wall. Now Felix Herziger has put himself ahead of Björn Grossman as we were looking at a replay of that start. Now car 1 is under investigation for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. I was tempted to say something and I avoided saying something, but the initial overtake when Jasin Ferati went by, I wondered whether race control would look at that and think, do you know what, would you have made that if you hadn't left the track?
Yeah, it's always a critical or a controversial discussion if you go off the track and you don't immediately overtake, but clearly, I mean, if you had to brake, you would lose 3 seconds, or you just put yourself in a position to make a move 1 or 2 turns later. It is always difficult to judge. It's always difficult because the penalty potentially would be several seconds, and you know it could be race deciding. So race control will take a look at all the data, all the information, not just the camera but also the car data, and they will make an informed decision. It's always difficult, but now on the track the battle is there, and for Felix Herziger, if he can make the overtake and get back into P1, what race control does, it's kind of academic.
You're right. What I find interesting is that these 2 now have broken away a bit from, Felix Herziger got past Björn Grossman. Grossman seems to have suddenly lost a bit of momentum, because the gap between P2 and P3 is great now. So here is our race leader, Jasin Ferati. Then it is Felix Herziger. And there you can see there's a gap of almost a full second before you get back to Björn Grossman now running in P3. So in replay, this is how Felix Herziger got by Björn Grossman. I hope we will see this. Yep, a dive to the inside at the bus stop chicane. That was textbook, wasn't it, really?
100%. I think Björn was more looking towards Jasin Ferati than necessarily expecting Felix Herziger, but Felix Herziger absolutely made it stick as the Spa-Francorchamps team following Felix Herziger in his quest to unseat the leading car, that is Jasin Ferati. Moving up the order in the AMs is Michael Verhagen, who had a torrid day of qualifying, in fairness, but has moved up a number of places.
Now, Grossman is dropping down the order like a stone, Nico. Something has happened. He lost pace, and now he's dropping down the order. So, up into P3 is Gilles Renmans. So, I don't know what's happened to that Octane 126 car, but he is, as I say, he's like a stone going down. Right, here comes a potential overtake for the lead of the race then. Felix Herziger is on the grass. If he can control... Whoa, what a save! And then onto the grass the other side. My goodness me, credit to Felix Herziger for holding on to that car. He lost the door mirror on the Armco, but on that grass at the speed they're doing at the top of Eau Rouge, Nico, my goodness me, that is a scary moment, and credit to him for having the skill and the ability to control that car on the grass, not once, but twice. Now, there will be an argument as to whether perhaps he was squeezed a little. Oh, and look at the reaction from Manu Gosner inside the Ineco Reparto Corsa Ram garage, of which, of course, Felix Herziger drives.
Yeah, but I think that reaction will have been fairly similar across the garages because the drivers know how quick they are.
There's Grossman. Nico, sorry for interrupting you.
There is Björn Grossman. Unfortunately, has to retire the car. But as a driver, you know how that must feel. You know what kind of speed you do, and you can relate to what that would be if you were in the car. So,
Björn, do you know what? He is such a good driver, but clearly something a problem. I don't say many things that are right. I picked up on the fact that he lost a lot of time. He lost a lot of speed, and then he just dropped down the order.
Yeah, and the car has had some issues already this year, so something that the Octane 126 team are working on, but whatever it is, they will rebound and they will come back. And yeah, let's see, has Felix Herziger lost any pace as a result of that incident? Well, sectors 2 and 3 wouldn't necessarily make you think. Doesn't look like he damaged anything or lost pace fundamentally.
So we are being told that Grossman, actually nothing wrong with the car, Nico. It's a puncture, which is one of those unfortunate things. Can I make mention of the fact that Felix Herziger, Nico, has got a couple of track limits warnings against him?
Oh.
So he needs to be careful, doesn't he? You know, because 3 warnings is fine. 4th warning, you're going to get a penalty, and he really does not need that, as Hendrik Viol then, under some pressure, is Hendrik Viol, and he's under pressure from Gilles Renmans, who wants to get up the road and be in touch with the other 2 Trofeo Pirelli drivers, of course, Jasin Ferati and Felix Herziger. There you can see Claudia, Hendrik Viol's partner. Now, Hendrik Viol, it's easy for me to say, I'd be inclined almost to let Gilles go because Hendrik Viol is a Pirelli AM driver, but of course what he has at the moment, Nico, he's got the protection of a Trofeo Pirelli driver between himself and the next Pirelli AM driver, which is David Gosner, who's being chased incidentally by Andrew Morrow and Angelo Fontana. So it's always difficult, isn't it? But you can see just how desperate Gilles Renmans is to get by. Andrew Morrow really having to defend his provisional P3 place from Angelo Fontana at the moment. I made mention of the fact just how well Angelo had qualified earlier on, and I think that was with some merit. And also the pace he's got now in chasing down the Charles Hurst RPM driver, Andrew Morrow. He's doing a really, really good job here.
Indeed. What will come into play, unfortunately, will be track limits. We see almost all the drivers have picked up at least one of those warnings as we just approach half race distance, and you always want the race to be decided on the track, but equally race control will be very fair and equal. But when they see that the car is exceeding the track limits, that will have consequences. The first 3, as you said, are warnings. After that, 5 seconds and further penalties later on are in store. So all the drivers will be told by their teams, by their driver coaches, to be careful, especially once they hit the 3rd and final warning.
It's a very good point, well made, Nico. Thank you for that. Let's go on board right now with Gilles Renmans, who is chasing down our leader in the Trofeo Pirelli AMS, Hendrik Viol. Now, the incident involving cars number 30 in turn 1 and number 1 in turn 4 is noted. When something gets noted, Nico, it kind of means that, yeah, we're aware of it, but that's it. We're not expecting a penalty imminently.
No, the alternative would be under investigation, but however, now we have an update in terms of our earlier investigation.
Yes. Now, the earlier investigation was with regards to car number 1, whether the car number 1 gained an advantage by going off the track and making an overtake. Race control have decided Jasin Ferati did get an advantage and has picked up a 5-second penalty. It will be on screen for you in a moment. But there you can see that is why Giacomo Altoe in that split screen looked so crestfallen, because his driver, Jasin Ferati, who is currently leading on track, he can stay leading on track, but he needs to build a margin of 5 seconds over Felix Herziger if that win is going to stick. And there you can see Giacomo Altoe. You can see how, as I say, crestfallen he is. So, yeah, basically it's a 5-second time penalty that will be given to Jasin Ferati for gaining an advantage by going off the track. So Felix Herziger hasn't got to push quite as hard as he was pushing. And Jasin Ferati now has got to push harder than ever, Nico, because the only way that he can really rescind that 5-second penalty is by building a margin of 5 seconds between himself and Felix Herziger. Forgive me, friend, if everything stays the way it is at the moment, I don't see that happening.
No, that is a tall order for any driver in the world, and Felix Herziger, now that he knows that he doesn't have to overtake, he can focus on keeping his Pirelli P0s in the optimum condition, and he doesn't have to attack and do anything crazy. This is going to be a tall order, and then obviously, how do I tell my driver? That was, I think, going also through Giacomo Altoe's mind.
There is the confirmation of that. Now, we did just have our live championship predictor. I didn't put my glasses on quite quick enough, but I think the points between the two of Jasin Ferati and Felix Herziger, I think it was 169 playing 162. 7 points between them. Ho, ho, ho. This Trofeo Pirelli title chase is going to be a humdinger, I can tell you that, between Jasin Ferati and Felix Herziger. So, Jasin Ferati on track, leading. He is, though, nominally going to drop back, and drop back. He will only be impacted at the moment by 1 place, I think.
Indeed, and right now Gilles Renman, who we go on board with, bad news for the Gilles Renman fan club, because track limits now for the first time in this race rears its unfortunate head from the driver point of view, because he has picked up track limit warning number 4, and that would drop him 5 further seconds down the order, which we now get confirmation on our timing screen. Yeah, I mean, for Jasin Ferati, something like a safety car towards the end of the race would be fairly unfortunate, as for Gilles Renman, because it bunches everybody up, and that means 5 seconds could lead to more positions.
There is confirmation of that time penalty that Nico mentioned for the car of Gilles Renman, and that for repeated track limit excursions. So, here's Hendrik Viol ahead of Gilles Renman, but Hendrik Viol, it's David Goster P2 for the AM drivers. Andrew Morrow is P3 for the AM drivers, with Angelo Fontana P4 at the moment. Andrew Morrow has broken away significantly from Angelo Fontana now, and we've got 10.5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining in this Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli and Trofeo Pirelli AM race. A race that's being led on track by Jasin Ferati with Felix Herziger P2, but bear in mind, Jasin Ferati has got a time penalty to be awarded at the end of the race. David Goster then, the CDP MP racing driver, who's running P2 in the Pirelli AM category. And into the Scuderia Prague garage, who engineer Hendrik Viol. And I spent some time with Hendrik Viol last night, and Claudia, and many other drivers, to be fair, as the calendar reveal for 2026 was unveiled, as we see the cars heading down and up a Rouge. Hendrik Viol then. And I said to Hendrik, you know, we were talking about the championship. Of course we were talking about the championship. He's in a good position, but it's by no means sorted yet. And I made mention of the fact he was the bridesmaid last year. Is he going to be the bride this year? And he says, truthfully, Dave, don't really want to think about it too much. Just want to go out there and do what I need to do. He had a fantastic battle last year with Klaus Sabranson to that title, which went the way of Klaus Sabranson, deservedly so, in fairness. And he was very good friends with Klaus Branson. Ironically, he's been Hendrik is very good friends with Marco Zanatti, who's chased him really hard in the Pirelli AM title fight as well. Great camaraderie across the Ferrari Challenge, and yes, I think until we get to Mugello, we're not going to know.
No, and you make mention of the fact how that battle last year unfolded, and both would have been more than worthy champions. Klaus Branson just took it with a few points to the good. And Hendrik Viol last year, he was kind of Mr. Consistent, whereas Klaus Branson had absolute moments of brilliance and then some lesser results,
yes,
but it came out on top. And this year, Hendrik Viol is both consistent and at the sharp end of the results, and that puts him into the position that he is in.
Yeah, that's a fair point, as our drone makes its way through the forest region then, and picks the cars up as they head towards the bus stop chicane with Felix Herziger, who, of course, Nico, he will have been advised that Jasin Ferati has got a penalty, and that's why Felix has metaphorically been able to lift his foot off the accelerator a little bit.
Yeah, of course, and he doesn't have to look and find opportunities to go by. I mean, he's still a racing driver. He would still like to finish P1 on track and make any discussion about penalties mute, but it is what it is, and he will make the most of that opportunity.
Can I say something here, and it might be controversial? When that happened earlier on, and we saw that Jasin Ferati had gone off the track, should he have been advised by Emil Frey, give that place back before it's even looked at by race control?
I will not put my toe into that lake one iota. No, it's always an argument as we get a
that's Dylan Medler.
5-second penalty for track limits announced for Dylan Medler. Well, but if the team felt like, you know, it was within the limits, then why would you give a position back, especially P1? I think that's a question of hindsight versus in the moment. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, there, confirmation, car 15, time penalty plus 5 seconds. That is for Dylan Medler, who's running P5 in Trofeo Pirelli. Is that going to drop him behind Henri Acide? I'm not sure. Henri Acide running P6 at the moment. Dylan Medler's running P9 in the race overall, and Henri Acide is P13 in the race overall. There you can see the penalties that have been and are being applied right now in graphics. Also, 6 minutes plus 1 lap remaining on this Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli AM race. We're live from Spa-Francorchamps with Felix Herziger then chasing down Jasin Ferati, and the gap now between Jasin Ferati and Felix Herziger is 8/10. It's nowhere near enough. Jasin Ferati would need to be 5 seconds up the road of Felix Herziger for the penalty to effectively be nullified, Nico.
Indeed. Remember, Gilles Renman has a 5-second penalty. Max Mugelli is currently running roughly 5 seconds behind him. And this is for the final podium place in Pirelli. Adding to the drama is that Gilles Renman not only picked up a 5-second penalty, he's already again on the brink of adding another penalty for track limit. So he has to be really, really, really careful and still not slow down. David Gosner and Andrew Morrow are at 3 warnings. So this could still turn on its head over the last 5 minutes and change.
Wow. Okay, here's Herziger, here's Ferati then at the top of Eau Rouge. And you know what you were saying about, you know, every driver is a racing driver, therefore they want to win it on track. Felix Herziger, I get the impression he's lit the wick up again now in the final 5 minutes plus 1 lap of this race. And there you can see in the split picture is the driver coach to Emil Frey Racing, and that is Giacomo Altoe. And he is just keeping an eye on everything. And incidentally, the incident involving cars 30 and number 1 in T4 will be investigated after the race. That looks like a retirement for Herbert Guys, Nico.
Yes, indeed. Team's still looking at the car, so maybe they can get his 296 challenge out again. Removing the cover of the engine. Yeah, I mean, that incident must be the one which put Felix Herziger onto the grass.
Yes.
question...
Twice.
Twice, indeed. And the question will be, was he squeezed to the point where that's something that race control needs to get involved with or not? And yeah, race control will, I'm sure, and that's part of why it will be done afterwards, we'll talk to both of the drivers.
Yeah, yes. There's Henri Acide then, and Henri Acide, can I just make mention, because I've not made mention of this, Michael Verhagen, Nico, has been a bit anonymous in this race.
Yeah,
which is very unusual for him.
Absolutely, he's moved up a few positions at the same time. That's bit up Jacob Bidstrup, who's not a regular campaigner, but he's holding his own and he's keeping Michael Verhagen behind him for lap after lap after lap, and is actually more looking like he's attacking Marco Zanazzi. So great showing from him, mixing it up with those who are really in the battle for podium positions thus far this season.
So there is Marco Zanazzi, the very driver that Nico was talking about, with Jacob Bidstrup in the Burgundy number 51 car right behind. And also in there is Hanno Laskovsky, Danilo Del Favro as well. So lots of very, very talented drivers there. So Hendrik Viol in a very, very good position in Pirelli Am, and has kept that Gilles Renman car between himself and Gilles, who, if nothing else, will win the award for the most track limits at the end of this race. As we stand at the moment, I think it's up to 7, as Nico has indicated. He doesn't want to make it 8 because that would be a penalty. As here's Michael Verhagen now, Nico, having a go at Jacob Bidstrup. As I was talking about Hanno Laskovsky, who's also in that mix. He's going to pick up a time penalty for track limits as well. So we're seeing more track limits penalties in this race than any other race. Well, we've only had one race today, but yeah, inevitably the track limits are having an impact, particularly towards the end of the race. And part of the reason for that is that they'll have pushed their Pirelli tyres really hard, Nico, and of course the grip available to them is less come the end of the race, and you have to be ever more careful that you're not going to exceed those limits.
Indeed, and it's exactly the spots on the track where you try to take as much momentum and slingshot, and it's sometimes a very, very thin line, and we already saw that in qualifying, where it's only a few centimeters between the ideal line and the track, and a lap time disallowed, and in the race that correlates. It's one of those things in motorsport that many casual viewers don't quite grasp, and it's very difficult to understand how every single lap the car and the tires will feel just a little bit different.
Yes.
You always have to find where exactly is the quickest, safest and legal line around the circuit.
We're into the final minute of the race. Do bear in mind we've got one lap at the conclusion of this one, because it's always 30 minutes plus one lap. So Jasin Ferati and Felix Herziger then. And Hendrik Viol continuing to be attacked by Gilles Renmans, by the lights being flashed at him, but it's not impacting thus far. Here's Marco Zanazzi. Behind Marco Zanazzi is Jacob Bidstrup. Then it is Michael Verhagen and Henri Acide and Hanno Laskovsky and Danilo Del Favro, all making their way through La Source turn, as the clock has counted down to 0 now, which means that when Jasin Ferati and Felix Herziger cross the timing line in a minute and a half's time, they will start what will effectively be the one lap, the plus one lap, the last lap.
Exactly. Gap between Gilles Renman and Max Mugello is still 5.5 seconds, so that drama in terms of who might be on the podium for Pirelli P3 is still very much in the air.
So there's Marco Zanazzi, Jacob Bidstrup, there's Henri Acide, and Jasin Ferati, well, 3 tenths to the good over Felix Herziger, right at the front of the pack of cars. So 2 categories of Ferrari Challenge racing in one here. We have our Pirelli race and our Pirelli Am race, which means 2 podiums to come. Podium for our Pirelli drivers, and And also for our Pirelli Am drivers, is that Andrew Morrow, Nico?
I would think so, and that would be drama for him. He was in a firm podium position in P3, but that looks like he is off the track, trying to nurse the car back. Let's see what the time history says. Yes, it's Andrew Morrow who is dropping down the order. And
what a shame. But great driving from Andrew Morrow. Look at that, very sensibly getting the car to a position where it can put it into safety and therefore avoid nullifying the race as Jasin Ferati and Felix Herziger start what is the +1 lap, so it becomes the final lap. That then elevates Angelo Fontana into a provisional podium, and that would be Angelo Fontana's first podium this year. I said that he'd qualified really, really well, and through the misfortune of Andrew Morrow, he's going to get a podium out of this. So, car has been put to safety. The yellow flag has been removed from that spot where Andrew Morrow was, and therefore the final lap can go on unabated, Nico, with Jasin Ferati and Felix Herziger P1 and P2 for our Pirelli drivers. For our AM drivers, it's Hendrik Viol and David Gostner. They are P1 and P2. Michael Verhagen, who's still trying to unseat Jacob Bidstrup as car number 33 gets a time penalty. You'll see that on screen in just a few moments. It's the very man that I was talking about, Michael Verhagen. And that's because of track limits. So a number of drivers have really suffered with track limits, as Hanno Laskowski has a go at Henri Acide here. Henri Acide has to shortcut the chicane, and well, Hanno Laskowski was not able to take advantage of that, and there will be an argument that Henri, if he couldn't make the turn, which quite clearly he couldn't, Hanno Laskowski should have been given that place potentially on the final lap. So the drama intensifies in this Ferrari Challenge Pirelli and Pirelli Am race.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is an exit route right around the outside. Hanno Laskowski already has a penalty against him, so he kind of isn't even in a real battle position. Talking about the gaps, the gap between Gilles Renman and Max Mugelli is now a little bit more than 5 seconds plus. So right now, Gilles Renman would have that final podium position.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. So then, checkered flag is being unfurled. Jasin Ferati then will cross the line, but with a penalty to be taken. Felix Herziger takes the win. Giacomo Altoe and the rest of the Emil Frey team, as Hendrik Viol, our Pirelli Am race leader, will head to the checkered flag for Scuderia Prague. And for Hendrik Viol, it's another fine. And may I make mention of the fact, Hendrik Viol, not one track limit against his board. So that's, you know, proof that it can be done. So the podium drivers will see Felix Herziger, Jasin Ferati and Gilles Renmans. For our AM drivers, it's going to be Hendrik Viol, David Gostner and Angelo Fontana. Brilliant stuff, Nico.
Absolutely brilliant stuff. Good racing, top down. The only other driver, just to complete that, without any track limit warnings, is Danilo Del Favaro, who, with a very respectable P6, to be fair, also kept it a clean sheet. Felix Herziger, we saw the championship standing as it was at that point in the race, and we will get confirmation after the podium. In stretching his lead, so does Hendrik Viol. Great driving from him, and behind him, David Gostner, who had put it on pole, dropped a few places right at the start, but kept his own after that. Great to see David Gostner in the race. And there is Jasin Ferati. It will be interesting how he will feel about that when he steps out on the car and onto the podium.
It's really difficult, isn't it? For us, Nico, what great news, because this championship, which has been exciting anyway throughout the season, of course, when you are getting towards the end of the season, you want it to, you know, intensify. You want it to go to the final race of the final race weekend. And, you know, the points championship are such that yeah, it's looking very, very exciting between the top two in Trofeo Pirelli and indeed in Pirelli Am.
And if you haven't booked your travel to Mugello, I've said it before, but it's only 4.5 weeks, 5 weeks before we get there. Here are the results on screen for you.
Felix Herziger and Jasin Ferati, P1 and P2. Here for Pirelli. For Pirelli Am drivers, Hendrik Viol and David Gosner. Gilles Renman takes a podium place, and so too does Angelo Fontana. Then it was Max Mugelli and Dylan Medler. Ahead of Marco Zanassi, Jacob Bidstrup, Henri Acide and Danilo Del Favreau. James Owen, Michael Verhagen and Hanno Laskowski. Then it was Rafael Duran, Armin Arefpour, and they were ahead of Otto Blank, Andrew Morrow and Herbert Guys. Andrew Morrow, of course, still classified, though sadly he wasn't able to take the finish of the race, Nico.
Indeed, unsurprisingly, our top two drivers will be asked to come to race control after the podium, just to discuss what happened in that sequence we saw earlier. But let's focus on the celebration in Parc Fermé now.
I have to say, Felix Herziger is an impressive driver, but the way he was able to save that car on that straight, Nico, the Camel straight, so fast. He was on the grass on both sides. Yeah, he did really, really well to hold on to that. You know, so many drivers would have been in such strife there, Nico.
Yeah, and you don't want to imagine the speed, and it's yeah, quite impressive how he managed that, and to be rewarded with not only the victory but a very, very friendly hug.
Yeah. Well done, Hendrik. And the Scuderia Prague team works so hard, and Hendrik is always very appreciative of all their efforts. And, yeah, we're going to be seeing two fantastic podiums, and there is Gilles, who gets a podium here on his home race. So that's really, really good to see.
It's not the start. It's not the start.
Trying to listen in to some of the words that are being said that we can get hold of. As the drivers head off to the podium. For those that are lucky enough to be in the top three of each of the categories, we'll be hearing hopefully from our Pirelli and Pirelli Am race winners in due course. Ludovica will be trying to get hold of them and discover precisely how the races went for them. And the question you need to ask, Ludo, to Felix Herziger is about that big save. I mean, you cannot not ask that. Because that was such a moment, and he did so well to hold on to it. Let's hear from him now, Felix Herziger.
Felix, congratulations. What a race. What a battle with Jasin Ferati. It was a tough race for you, but you pushed to the limit your car.
Absolutely not, to be honest. We had so much more pace. It was super easy to drive behind him. And the way he was driving was just, to be honest, not on this championship level. I don't see it as anything good, and he should learn a little bit more about that. From our side, team did a perfect car. Even after the crash, we were super fast. So for me, it was the best day possible, super easy. And can't thank my partners enough, Neupack, everybody that's watching at home, my girlfriend Diana, Kim that's watching at home, David, Tommy, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done to Felix Herziger, who, in his opinion, told it the way it was.
Well, competitors in the heat of the moment, the two will have a conversation with race control, and I'm sure cool heads will prevail. Yeah. Felix Herziger was rewarded with the victory, and I'm sure we will hear someone with Ludovica who will be just jolly pleased about where he is, both today and in the championship.
Yes, Hendrik Viol in a good position now. We saw the hug from Claudia, and he'll be delighted about adding another win to his tally for this year. Well done, Hendrik. Let's hear from him now.
Hendrik, congratulations for this race one, a very important result for the championship, and you made and clear a solid performance. So I want to discover with you, how was the feeling with your car and the track?
Thank you very much. First of all, Well, the feeling was perfect. The car was insanely quick, so we were fighting with the pro basically throughout all the race. I said I want to have a consistent race, solid one. At the start, a big gap opened in front of me, so I had to take the opportunity and managed to stay there all over the race at an unbelievable pace. The car was amazing, so perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done, Hendrik. Let's take a look at the highlights then of that extraordinary race for Pirelli and Pirelli Am as the cars got ready to go. Lights went out. Let's go racing. Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli Am. Felix Herziger, Jasin Ferati side by side. Great start from Björn Grossman. He was able to put himself through and pick up that P3 position. And one or two drivers just behind holding on to their positions. Hendrik Viol was squeezed very close to the concrete. And he was leading, though, in Pirelli Am, having got the better of David Gosner. This was a talking point as Jasin Ferati and Felix Herziger were side by side through the chicane, and Felix Herziger also going through there, and Björn Grossman really struggling to hold on to that car, but this was a scary moment. Onto the grass, losing a door mirror, then the car snapping as well. It was some of the best controlled driving I have seen from Felix Herziger. It could have been oh so different. It was a disappointment for Andrew Morrow, who was in a podium place, but the car giving up on him at that point, which meant that he wouldn't finish the race. And, well, Herbert Geis was going around. That was Otto Blank rather than Herbert Geis, I beg your pardon, as Jasin Ferati. Well, he crossed the line first, but the winner would be Felix Herziger for Trofeo Pirelli, and for Pirelli Am it would be Hendrik Viol. And as you can see, celebrations were pretty lively. So there are the race statistics for that Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli Am race from Ferrari Challenge here at Spa-Francorchamps. Another race to come, of course, tomorrow. For those drivers, and we're going to be heading up to the podium very soon. So we stand by for Michele Mambelli to bring our drivers out onto the podium for their celebrations. Hearing in the background as we look at Thomas Gosner and Corinna Gosner there, of course, to support David Gosner, who will be on the podium. Gilles Redmans then for Trofeo Pirelli in home race takes P3. Jasin Ferati takes P2. And on the top step of the podium, the Ineco Reparto Corsa Ram driver, Felix Herziger. And that team, of course, will be represented as well. And here comes the national anthem. The anthem plays out for Felix Herziger, and trophies to be presented right now. And Le Mans race winner Ife A is here to make the trophy presentations. He is a Ferrari factory driver, an awesome guy, and he'll be joining us on the air tomorrow. Very much looking forward to that. He's made the trophy presentation to Gilles Redman. Now he makes the presentation to Jasin Ferati, and here comes the race winners trophy that's going to go the way of Felix Herziger, who the driver of the number 30 car receives. I think it's his 8th race winners trophy. I think it's 8. I was trying to count as I was watching the pictures, and here is Lucio Vigani from Pirelli to make the Pirelli trophy also to Felix Herziger. So Ife A then with Lucio and everybody else. They'll all get up to the podium, and the photographs will be taken. And then, escaping very quickly will be Ife and Lucio. And the champagne gets sprayed, and Felix wins that race, and Gilles also trying to get involved in that. Up next, it will be our Pirelli Am podium. Gilles Renman for Francorchamps Motors Brussels takes P3. Taking P2, Jasin Ferati. And it's P1 for Felix Herziger for Einico Reparto Corsa Ram. So stand by, Pirelli Am podium to come, but in the Drivers' Championship there are 16 points between Felix Herziger and Jasin Ferati, and Gilles Renman has moved up one place to P3, but the championship chase is going to be between Felix Herziger and Jasin Ferati. Be under no illusion. And we'll pick up that championship fight tomorrow, of course, when they will be racing again. Here comes the Pirelli Am podium right now. And his first podium of the season, Angelo Fontana, will be on step 3. Step 2 will go the way of David Gosner. And on the top step of the podium, it's Hendrik Viol.
Scuderia Pra Racing on the podium.
So they're the drivers and they're the team. Scuderia Prague represented. National anthem. Now it's time for trophies to be presented. FAA then is here ready to make the trophy presentations. As I said, he will be joining us tomorrow, and he's a really, really super young man and very talented driver. A Le Mans winner in the hypercar, of course. And jolly nice chap. So, receiving his P3 trophy is Angelo Fontana. Receiving the P2 is David Gosner. And then on the top step of the podium, it is Hendrik Viol, who has proven once again just how good he is this season. He receives yet another trophy. Although it's only his 5th race winners trophy, remarkably. Scuderia Prague, of course, received the Copertine Award. And Lucio Vigani will make the Pirelli presentation, also to our race winner, Hendrik Viol. Well done to all the drivers and to our trophy presenters as well. If you would be kind enough to load yourselves up onto the podium, ready for the focus of the world's media as the photographs are taken. Rise up and lift up your trophies high and be proud. Well done to each and every one of our Pirelli Am drivers. Who's going to be first with the champagne? David Gosner is going to get my vote. And yes, I'm right. Not very often, but on this occasion, I was. Here are the top 3 then. Angelo Fontana, his first podium of the season for the Rosso Corsa Racer. Well done, Angelo. Qualified really well, finished really well in the race. And David Gosner then, for CDP MP Racing, takes P2. And then another remarkable drive from our championship points leader in Trofeo Pirelli Am, Hendrik Viol. Well done, Hendrik. And we will take a look at the Trofeo Pirelli Am points right now. And as as you can see, Henrik Viol with a 44-point margin over Michael Verhagen, then Marco Sanasi P3 in the Drivers' Championship points. It's not done yet, Nico.
No, but it could be tomorrow.
Yes.
It will take a big work from Michael Verhagen to wrestle that back, but well done, Henrik Viol.
So there we have it then. Done and dusted. Race 1 for Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli Am. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you for another race from Trofeo Pirelli and Pirelli Am tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.